Are you thinking about buying a home in San Francisco? There are some properties that you should avoid. If you don't want to waste thousands of dollars buying a home that you might regret, then this video is for you. Today, I'm going to tell you about properties that you should avoid and what to look for when buying a home in San Francisco. I'm Lisa Vukovic, a local real estate agent in San Francisco, and I've lived here for the past 25 years. I make videos all about San Francisco and giving you the inside tips. In this video, I'm going to give you the red flags when buying condos and older homes here in San Francisco, so you can walk in with your eyes open and avoid the traps that eat away at your value and your enjoyment. Stick with me, and by the end, I'll give you a checklist that you can download, and I'll show you how to get started working with me if you want help navigating this tricky real estate market in San Francisco. So let's dive in. When we talk about buying real estate in San Francisco, many buyers focus on, I want the view, I want the neighborhood, I want the lifestyle, and that's totally fair. But make sure that it's a solid investment, and you need to consider the building systems, the building management, the hidden maintenance, the noise, the condition underneath the glamour, and that's especially true in condo ownership, when you're not only buying the unit, but you're buying into a shared building, shared finances, and shared risk. If the building falls to pay attention, you inherit that risk. So today I'm going to highlight the red flags in three main bucket areas: condos, older homes, and location. And in the end, I will give you a checklist that you can download to help with your home search journey. I personally have owned a condo in San Francisco for the past 22 years, and I've served on the HOA board several times, so I'm very experienced with assessing if the HOA is healthy or not. So let's get started with condominiums. A big red flag is high HOA dues and minimum amenities. When you see condos with high monthly HOA dues, yet the building has very few amenities, no gym, no concierge, no good common area space, that's a red flag. Because high dues may be a sign that the building has big expenses coming up or it's already behind. In San Francisco specifically, a recent report found lots of condo buildings where dues soared and owners went delinquent because the dues jumped up so much. So if the building is charging you a lot, you're paying for something, either good amenities or old systems that are failing. So let's go into the systems and deferred maintenance and the lack of reserves. So dig into the building systems, the elevators, the plumbing, the electrical, the roof, the foundation. If the plumbing is galvanized or the wiring is knob and tube or aluminum, these are real hazards. For example, knob and tube wiring is viewed by many insurers as a fire risk, and it may impact your ability to get insurance. Or most insurance companies will charge 4 to 5 times more because the building has old electrical. So check when the reserve study was done. How much of it is in the reserves for major updates? For example, elevator replacement, roof membrane, seismic retrofit. If the HOA is self-managed, which is common in smaller units, the owners need to be keeping up with the maintenance. And if not, that's a big red flag. So uncover the hidden costs with the HOA finances before you buy. Ask when the reserve study is, what the budget is, if there's any special assessment history, and if there's any deferred maintenance. Another red flag can be mortgage and financing. Some condo buildings are flagged by federal agencies and banks because they have structural issues, or they won't lend on them because they have insurance problems, or they have legal issues. So, if the building you like is on that list or has legal issues, you could be stuck owning something that you can't easily finance, sell, or insure. So, always ask if financing is readily available for the units in the building. And as an agent, I always call the lender who I trust and ask them to pull up the condo building to see if there are any red flags on getting financing. I've seen condos that need waterproofing, so Freddie and Fannie Mac won't lend on it. I've seen condo buildings that have major structural issues, so they're not able to get financing on it. And I've also seen other buildings that have lawsuits, huge lawsuits that go on for years, so they can't get lending on it either. So if there's a lawsuit involving the HOA, lenders usually will not lend on it. There are lenders that will finance on riskier properties, but they charge a higher interest rate. So when buyers need to seek alternate lending options, it directly impacts the price because they're not willing to pay as much as they would if they could get a lower rate. So let's recap the red flags. If the HOA dues are high but there are no amenities, find out why. Check the most recent reserve study and make sure there's plenty of reserves for any upcoming projects. Make sure that the HOA is well managed and check all the building systems to make sure that they are updated and there's not going to be any future need to update electrical, plumbing, elevators, seismic retrofit. And then condo specific, make sure there's no litigation and there's no issues with getting finance on the building. Now let's go into what you need to look for in older homes. A lot of homes in San Francisco were built in the early 1900s. So unless you know a lot about old homes, you might not know what to look for as red flags. Some of the key issues are underground storage tanks. Older homes built in the early 1900s had fuel tanks for heating, which still may remain underground. It's the buyer's responsibility to perform an inspection to see if there is a tank, and if they find one, the seller is obligated to pay to have it removed. These homes were originally built in the 1900s with brick foundations, which is not as stable as the poured concrete, which is what we use now. So check to see the stability of the foundation and get a quote on how much it would be to cost to remedy the problem so you can factor that in with your offer. There are parts of the city that are in liquefaction zones. Liquefaction happens when loose, water-saturated soil temporarily behaves like a liquid during an earthquake. It's not visible from the surface, but what's underneath the house can make or break how it rides out an earthquake. Normal ground is made up of compacted soil and rock, so when the earth shakes, it moves, but it stays firm. Liquefaction, often near the bay or old landfill areas like parts of the marina, South of Market, and Mission Bay, is loosely packed sand or fill sitting on top of groundwater. And when seismic waves hit, the pressure between the water and the soil increases and the grains lose contact. So the ground literally flows like quicksand. What does that do to the home? Foundation shifting or sinking, the loose soil loses strength and structures can tilt or drop unevenly. Cracked foundations or slabs, the pressure and movement can snap concrete and shear walls. Broken utility lines, water, gas, sewer lines rupture as the soil shifts. Stabilizing liquefied ground after can cost hundreds and thousands of dollars, sometimes more than what the home is worth. So the earth beneath what your structure is sitting on is absolutely critical. Another one is old electrical wiring, the knob and tube. Outdated breaker panels, like the Federal Pacific, are known to have hazards, and many insurers will not insure homes with outdated electrical, which poses a huge fire risk. There's also plumbing. Galvanized plumbing refers to the steel pipes coated with a thin layer of zinc to prevent rust. It was a standard in homes built roughly between 1920s and the 1960s. And the problem is the zinc coating eventually wears away. And once that happens, the steel underneath starts to erode from the inside. So you can't see the damage until it's already restricting the water flow or leaking behind the walls. So if you see a home with it, assume it needs to be replaced and factor that into the cost. Most insurance companies will require copper plumbing to be the main component. And last but not least, location. The biggest thing you need to factor in when buying is location, location, location. Even great homes can become homes not to buy if the location has inherent issues. For example, if the condo or house is located right next to the freeway, you have polluted air and constant noise. The same goes for a home on the cable car line. Every time the trolley goes by, you hear the clanking tracks, and there's a vibration hum that you can hear all the time. There are homes located right next to the light rail where that goes roaring through the neighborhoods, or the minibuses that come barreling down the hills. The level of noise depends on the person and what they can tolerate, but since most places don't have air conditioning, I think being able to open your window is very important, so factoring in the noise is critical before you buy. I remember watching an episode of Million Dollar Listing where a couple bought a home and they didn't realize it was so close to the airport, and they moved in and then heard planes flying over constantly. So it just goes to show you that sometimes you can quickly go in an open house, fall in love with a house, and then not realize maybe some of the noise problems that you might have. So spend a lot of time there, know the area, and do your due diligence. Weather can be another factor that is critical to consider before you buy. If you don't like being cold and living on the western section of San Francisco, where the city gets the most fog, is not where you should be looking. There are people that love the fog, and that's why they love those neighborhoods. So I can't say that weather actually impacts property values because people choose the lifestyle in that neighborhood over the weather. So why all the caution? Because when you're buying real estate in San Francisco, you're already operating in one of the priciest and most competitive markets in the country. Margin for error is thin. Every dollar you lose to hidden issues or deferred maintenance is a dollar you can invest elsewhere, either in design, upgrades, or your lifestyle. Also, having a home that is low maintenance and lets you enjoy it more, whether you buy to live in it or as an investment, you'll sleep better at night knowing the building and the home is solid. And finally, resale matters. In condos especially, the health of the building can dictate whether somebody else wants to buy your unit. And that's not being pessimistic, it's being pragmatic. Thanks for spending time with me. If you found this video useful, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss more content about buying real estate in San Francisco, especially how to buy well, live well, and avoid regret. Drop a comment on what the biggest red flag is you've ever seen in a home. I love hearing the stories. And if you're ready to take the next step, whether you're exploring condos or single family homes, let's connect.